Hi folks, welcome to the BIH show. I'm Craig Anderson. We're back to get some reflection and insight on the 5 weeks that were the Elite Series. On this week's show, we chat to Nottingham Panthers netminder Jackson Whistle about his club securing the title following their 2-0 series win over the Sheffield Steelers and his role in their success. Coventry Blaze D-man David Clements also joins us to look back in the competition from his club's point of view as he gets excited about his forthcoming trip to Latvia with GB. But my first guest is a man who basically lived it and breathed the Elite Series for the last 5 weeks, and I don't mean Todd Kilman. He was responsible for a lot of the excellent output on social media throughout April. So, as he finally winds down after a busy few weeks, he's been kind enough to take the time to talk to me about it. It's the Elite League's media manager, Luke Fisher. Luke Fisher joining us on the BIH show. Luke, great to have you on board. I've been trying to get you on for weeks. You've been the busiest man in the Elite League. What's it like now that it's all over?
Oh, I don't think I was the busiest. I think there were a couple of others that were equally as busy. It was, it's really, I'm really glad that we've done it and that it's behind us and we've done it, I think, so well as well. Sunday night, I remember walking out of the arena with a huge smile on my face, I think, because it was just like, relief is the wrong word, but you kind of know, like, the weight has kind of gone off the shoulders of like doing that every day. And it was a lot of fun, but I'm glad everything's gone to plan as much as possible and that we've done it. And it doesn't seem like it was 5 weeks. That's the really weird thing. As I was leaving Nottingham, it didn't seem like I'd been up there for, well, almost 6 weeks when we went into like prepare. It seems to have gone by very quickly.
Are you able to quantify just how successful it was? I mean, the positive tweets and messages I've seen on social media regarding it, are you able to give an insight into how successful it's been from the other side of it, if you like?
I mean, I think it's going to take us a few days or even a couple of weeks to kind of digest every part of that. Like, I know that in terms of social media numbers, it's been very, very good, and engagement's been very, very high, which is what I want most of all. But yeah, I think, kind of got to just draw breath a little bit. The last players are leaving the country, from the ones that are now leaving the country, are going on Friday. So as long as we can get all of those successfully out of the country, then I think that definitely is like the big success marker in terms of that. And plus, we've now handed over the ones for the GB camp, which is starting soon as well. And I think with regards to them, I think it's definitely successful that everyone is now going off to GB camp match fit by and large, especially a lot more than they would have been without playing these 5 weeks. And whatever happens in Riga, we know that across UK hockey, across different organizations, we've given the guys the best possible preparation they can have, and that ultimately was the goal of the series. I think there's been a lot of amazing added bonuses within it, but that was what everyone set out to do at the start, and I think that was definitely what's been achieved.
So take me back to right at the very start then. How was it all pulled together? When the clubs were coming together to do this, from your perspective, from a logistical perspective, how did it all get pulled together then?
That's a good question. There was an awful lot of work went into it before we even got to Nottingham. So sort of realistically, from the beginning of March, when we knew we had the green light to do this, I think things like Zoom made it an awful lot easier. If you think back to before this pandemic started, none of us had really heard of Zoom. You might try and Skype in or something, but actually having the tools available to do remote conferencing made it quite simple. Obviously, we couldn't all meet in person, but I think had we tried to do this 18 months ago, it would have been a lot of kind of individual calls or calls where everyone's dialed in on a phone and things like that. But there were so many different people that were involved in it, and I think that's probably the thing that maybe isn't, people don't realize. So you've got the arena, for example. So Donna, who runs the arena, and her team were involved with it from the very start, because there are certain criteria that the arena needed to fulfill to be certified to host the event by the local health authority. Then you've got Dr. Matt Robbins, the Ice Hockey UK doctor, who did an awful lot of work with our return to play and our coronavirus protocol, and sort of setting up a lot of the medical logistics sides, everything we need, making an itinerary of everything we need to have in the rink, um, and things like that. Then you've got sort of Mike Hicks was doing a lot of the background work for, as an I as well, like for the logistics of how everything was going to work. And then Todd came on board as the tournament director, so he took a lot more of running like the background logistics, like the hotel booking, feeding people. I mean, that is probably one of the biggest things with any event, that you have to kind of make sure you cover that, everyone has enough meals in the day. And it sounds really stupid, but it's a mammoth task that Todd was doing to organize the schedule. So when everyone's got ice in the morning, when are they eating? So, but when they have ice, when does that mean they need to have breakfast? What time do they need to come into the rink? The whole scheduling of that was really big. And then in the teams, like, bear in mind, most teams have been kind of dormant for almost 14 months, to suddenly, like that, you're in. You need to get your coaches need to start recruiting players, and literally getting them in at 4 or 5 weeks notice. The amount of work that goes in there to you know get all the flights, make sure everyone had their pre-departure testing, that anyone that was coming in from abroad was then you know had all the documentation they needed to come in. The ones coming from abroad were then isolating unless they were training or playing, how you deal with their meals and things like that. I mean, and that's just before we got there. Like, so it really was an incredible amount. I'm sure I've missed things off there that we had to do it and sort out. And as well, I think, with the team owners, had they not gone through the process of applying for the support from Sport England, that was a very long process, very thorough process that they still had to go through, make sure everything was fine. And then with the budgeting that they submitted to keep going back and making sure that everything is approved, that was a monumental effort of work just to get the green light to know we can do the series. So realistically, although we maybe started working on it in March, this had been going on, I mean, November, the kind of some initial decisions, but even before that, teams were, reaching out to, at the time, DCMS and then Sport England. So yeah, so much. And that before we even got there, and I'm sure I've missed stuff. But I think what I wanted to kind of get across is how many different people were kind of involved in getting this off the ground. And I think it's quite hard to understate just how many people in various different roles there were.
And of course, not only the job that you did and those people that you've listed, there was the volunteers, the people that scorekeepers and such like, who, I saw your tweet the other day, they covered every single game over the period of the last month as well. I mean, what commitment from these people as well.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. And that was, I mean, for the commitment, but also for the environment which they needed to work in. Like, this was really different. Um, you know, Not everything that they were used to having kind of had to change because of the corona protocol, and to the extent that normally most of them just sit together, and we couldn't do that even now. So we had to have, anyone that was down at ice level was tested. Anyone that was then up in the stands doing the statistics, you could see from the photo, wasn't tested. So to kind of even agree to that, to doing that every day, I'm going to put the thing on my tonsils and up my nose every day. It's not pleasant. And so that is quite a commitment as well. And yeah, but those guys were incredible. That they followed absolutely everything we asked of them, and never with the protocol. And sometimes you think, when you're telling people, it's got to be like this, it's going to be different, you might meet some kind of resistance, because it's not how we always do it. But we absolutely, like, fantastic from them. No one ever complained or kind of questioned why. That they even had their own suggestions of things. So we thought of this, and they were like, yeah, that's good, but what if we went even further and did that? Which was so good to have that kind of buy-in as well. Those guys were incredible.
So I get the feeling you spent a lot of time at the arena, and I'm talking from first thing in the morning to last thing at night. Can you, is it possible to even talk through what would have been a typical day for you throughout the last month?
Yes, we did spend a lot of time in the arena. I think most teams had ice in the morning, and whether that was an obligatory skate or an optional skate depended on had they played the night before, when they were playing again, and what the coaches wanted. But certainly in the beginning, when we had that first week before games, every team was having an hour and a half skate, and those started around 9:30 in the morning. But before that, we needed to be there to let guys in. because the whole entry process was very controlled and very coordinated. You can't have three teams turning up at once. You can't have one team trying to get in and one team trying to leave at the same time for cross contamination reasons and flows within the building. So I think by and large, Todd, Dan Green also from Nottingham was helping, and we shouldn't forget him in this as well. They were there probably some days 7:30 when the equipment managers wanted to get in to start setting up, and on the days we played, I think we had a curfew at the rink of about midnight. And someone was there all the time from the organization. So we might have swapped over who's there, but it was very early mornings, very late nights. But it all came together. And I think, when you haven't had a great deal to do for best part of 14 months, you don't really mind too much that you sit in an ice rink for 10 hours before a game's going to even start. It just, there were always things to do. We were never bored.
I was going to ask that. You just touched upon it there. The fact that the teams have been sitting idle for 14 months. It must have been like that for you. Obviously, you're based in Prague most of the time. So, what has the last 14 months been like for you in your role with the Elite League?
Frustrating, I think. I've done work in other leagues and before, and to see every other league playing and we're not was really frustrating actually in the beginning. I think when you started to see some of the problems that other leagues were getting into, especially around November time, you do sort of look at it and think, wow, at least that we are not in that situation. And we, to be quite honest, we learned a lot from looking at other leagues around Europe going through that season. But the biggest takeaway from that was you need to test people every day rather than trying to test them every 2 weeks with a PCR every week, because every league that ran into problems in it was November time. November, December were really quite dodgy for a lot of leagues around Europe. And most of them run into problems because they were only doing 10 or 14-day testing. And that really was something we learned, that if you test every day, if something happens, you will pick it up. Whereas if you only test every 10 to 14 days, you might not know for 9 days, by which point, with the guys in such close quarters with each other, things are going to spread. But yeah, it wasn't the busiest of 14 months. I think, it was once we were trying to, look to start the season on time, even with little bits of delays and things. But once we were officially not starting the season, that was quite sad, and again, frustrating when you see other things, but you find stuff to do. Complete certain streaming services and stuff like that. But definitely, didn't make me regret having to do this for very long days one bit.
Stuff. And just before we go, I'd like to ask about your post-competition reflections. Just any highlights from your own personal point of view, from what you've seen over the last month. Obviously you've been busy with working, but I dare say there's some things that have happened that you can reflect on that put a smile on your face. So what are those?
Mainly all the guys coming in with a smile on their face every day. That was noticeably different. I think when you go through a season, you go through ups and downs, and sometimes people, might not be so happy to turn up at the rink. You never know what's going on, with a team and how they're playing. But this tournament, everyone was happy to be there every day. And I think it kind of, people realize that when you go without something for that long, you don't take it for granted anymore. And the players and the teams were so easy to deal with, I think, by and large, because they just appreciated having a mini season. Like no one, the end of February, no one even had any inkling that this was going to go ahead, and suddenly to be there, everyone was great. And that, I think, is the ultimate takeaway, is that knowing that all the work you're putting in is worth it because everyone's enjoying themselves. I think there was some great stuff on the ice, and some younger players really stepped up or took advantage of the opportunities that were handed to them, which was really great to see. But I could list loads of stuff from things that happened on the ice. But just also kind of being there and being within it, some of the stuff that we were able to do, some of the things you can kind of try out, or some of the production I thought was like fantastic with the multi-camera angles. The fact that we could set up the review system with like 8 different camera angles, like from a league point of view, was really good, because it's a great proof of concept. Sometimes when you say, we want to upgrade the video, people go, well, why? And this really proved it, that you can have all the angles, and this is why it matters. And fine, replicating that across 10 arenas might be quite difficult, but you can start saying, okay, but what if we did 4, or what if we did 5, and things like that. And so I think there are a lot of things now where we've kind of given ourselves a standard that speaks for itself, and hopefully are things that we can take forward.
One last question before we go. There's a lot more positivity now. We're hoping that there's going to be a season coming soon. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask for anything official, but from a personal point of view, how much positivity do you get that we will see a new season back in September?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is like desperate for having, I mean, fan wise, everyone is desperate to get back into rinks. I think that was the one takeaway from this series, was how much people are pumped for having their hockey teams back despite such a long layoff. It is kind of frustrating that it's out of our hands. And you just need government decisions to come. The roadmap is quite clear, but you need them to come to give you enough time to start the season. Like, I think we have to go back to what was said a lot last year of how many weeks you need to try and get a season going, and a lot of it's just going to depend on things that are out of our control. But knowing how much the fans were there, even fans of teams that were not taking part in this series, were just there to have hockey. And I think that also goes for the other leagues. The Spring Cup in the NIHL was only wasn't with the full number of teams, but you could see fans from other teams were just happy to see them back on the ice. And I think that's the most positive thing, is that everyone is, just can't wait for us to. I know I've not answered your question, but there's very little, can say when so much of it isn't within our gift, really.
Well, look, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for everything you did. I'm sure a lot of people appreciated everything you did in terms of output. I certainly did from a media point of view. So thank you so much, and enjoy your break.
Thank you. Thanks for covering it, and thanks everyone for watching.
Luke Fisher describing life in the Elite League bubble and working at the Elite Series, and what an amazing job he did too. Guest number 2 this week is a man with a smile on his face after helping his team, the Nottingham Panthers, clinch the Elite Series title. Statistically, the best goalie in the competition, with a save percentage of just under 92% and a goals against average of 2.56 in 550 minutes of action. It's fair to say this man has done well. Here's Nottingham Panthers netminder Jackson Whistle. Whistle. Jackson, good to have you on the show. What a weekend and what a series. What are your immediate reflections as you look back over the last 5 weeks?
No, it was really good. It was awesome to be a part of. Obviously, we won it, so it went well for us, kind of thing. No, it was great. I was really thankful that the league was able to put this on for us. It was great for guys like myself to kind of get back playing again and kind of get prepared for the upcoming World Championships.
We'll talk about the final. Obviously, the 2 games against Sheffield Steelers, winning the series by 2-0 is absolutely fantastic. And I found it surprising watching that a Sheffield Steelers team who were so good in offence, that between you and Bouncy, you managed to keep them back. Was there any kind of secret to it? Was there any work paid in particular to the guys that we know were a threat?
No, I mean, obviously we knew they had a good team, really high offensive team, and you could see that throughout, the course of the series. And I think for ourselves, we kind of, we looked at some of their guys personally. Me and Bouncy took a look with the goalie coach, some of their tendencies, that kind of stuff that they did on kind of the rush and on offense. But I just think our team, we played really well. I thought the team played an awesome 4 games really in the playoffs, and we kind of stepped up and played a full team game. We kind of got better as the tournament went on, and I think it obviously paid off in the end.
And of course, you were working with a group of a lot of new D-men as well, not to mention 1 or 2 of the sort of older guys that you've worked with before. So what was it like sort of, in terms of the team dynamic, in terms of gelling as the tournament went on? Did you feel that familiarity as the weeks went on?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, obviously, day one, you get in there, you don't know a ton of guys. And then we literally hung out every single day for 5 weeks, all day together, obviously, between the rink and going back to the hotel, and not really with anything open or much to do at the time. You're hanging out in the meeting room with guys. So you just bonded as it went on. And we didn't really have a whole lot of practice time at the beginning either. So I think you just kind of did it live in the games and kind of got better as it went on.
I'm keen to know about the dynamic between you and Bouncy. Of course, both of you have worked together in the national team. You've got that thing where obviously Bouncy's the more sort of experienced player. You're still if I dare say, the more up-and-coming sort of player. So how was the dynamic between you two during this tournament, given that you're both vying for GB spots and hopefully a start in that first game?
Yeah, no, obviously it was good. I mean, we're good buddies at the end of the day, and we're friends first. But I know, obviously, as a goalie, you both want to play, and only one of you can play. So I know we're just battling every single day, in practice, working as hard as we can. And then when you get your chance to play, trying to play well. And for myself personally, obviously, he's been the kind of the GB guy for the last, say, 3-4 years. He's done a great job with the team and played really well. So I'm just pushing him to try and get in there and to try and get some starts.
What about the final in terms of the two games? You started the game on Saturday, Bouncy started on Sunday. Was that always the plan, or did Tim Wallace kind of leave it to the last minute to tell you who was going to be playing? What was the plan behind that?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think on Friday it was there. He said to both of us basically going into the weekend, wish you're going to play Saturday, Bounds, you're going to play Sunday. So we kind of knew it right off the bat. That was the plan going in. Obviously, for myself, I would have loved to have played that Sunday game. But I think he was kind of looking at it more, if we were to play a game on Monday, having somebody fresh as opposed to trying to play, I guess, all the games in a row.
And of course, come back to the semi-final, you got the only shutout of the competition. That's something you must be very proud of, that victory against Coventry, which really set things up for the rest of the tournament. How does that feel?
No, it felt good, obviously. I think, kind of when you get a shutout, it really is a team effort. I think guys were even there, sliding around, blocking shots, clearing pucks out. So I think it was, nice to get, obviously, as a goalie. But I think it's, again, a team effort to get something like that.
I want to ask you about you, Jackson. You've been around for a few years now. You've played at Sheffield, you've played at Belfast, now you're at Panthers, obviously, or you were up to the Elite Series. How do you feel your game's come on in recent years as things like the World Championships come up and you've got, again, another chance to sort of impress in the bigger stage?
It feels pretty good, to be honest. I think I was actually thinking about it the other day and kind of talking about it with the goalie coach. And I know, obviously, kind of my time in the UK, really getting to start for 2 years, when I was 22 and 23, and then not necessarily getting to play a ton of games when I was 24. And then I think I've been getting a little bit more mature. I mean, for goalies, I think, your kind of peak time is kind of between 29 and kind of 32, they say. So I think as every year goes on, I kind of get a little bit more mature, get a little bit more experience. And I think it's just only going to help moving forward.
And of course, you've got your dad, who's a bit of an influence. Dave, of course, a former player and coach as well. How much of an influence does he have on what he says about your game? Is he a big critic, or is he generally quite supportive of what you do?
No, he's just supportive. Big Dave doesn't know. He doesn't chime in a whole lot as far as goaltending goes. I know he didn't know a whole lot about it. So he's good, though. He supports me and talks to me, and we'll talk after games and things like that and kind of joke about. But that's about it, really.
So take us into the locker room on Sunday night. Then you've done the game. You've won it. You've won the trophy. What was the celebrations like?
It was great. It was different, obviously, not having any fans there to kind of celebrate with. You definitely miss it. You know what I mean? But I mean, you'd rather, I guess, if you get the chance to play with no fans, you would take it over playing with it. If you couldn't have them in. But I think for ourselves, it was just kind of funny. We just celebrated together as a team. Celebrated on the ice, and then went into the locker room and celebrated together. And I think it was a lot of work. I was thinking back about it today. I mean, you played, I think it was 16 games in pretty much, just over a month. So it's a lot of it was a bit of a grind. And I think, guys really benefited from that and enjoyed it.
Was anyone a bit worse for wear, Jackson? Come on, you can tell me. Was anyone celebrating a bit too much, as they say?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some guys. I think we were all enjoying it pretty good. So let's go with that.
And of course, it has been so intense, the fact that you've all come together, you've all done this tournament and everything else. Which skaters kind of stood out for you through the tournament from your own team? I mean, certainly there's a couple that spring to mind from my point of view, but you watching them and seeing them at close quarters, who stuck out for you?
I thought Cans played really well and had a good tournament. I thought Bovin had a good tournament. I thought there was a lot of guys. I think, a lot of the British guys really stepped up, I think, and played well and really kind of proved a point that there should be more Brits in the league on a full-time basis. I think Ellis played really well for us. And then the guys that have been around in Nottingham led the way as well with, Ollie, Lacko, Pearls, Matheson. So I thought everybody kind of stepped up and played well.
So now attention turns to the World Championships. As we speak to you, you're enjoying a couple of down days before you head to Coventry and meet up with the rest of the squad. How excited are you that the Worlds are basically back? We had a year off last year, but the trip to Latvia is coming.
No, it's good. I mean, I feel confident, ready to go playing it. Obviously, it's a little bit of an interesting tournament. You're playing against some of the best players in the world, so you really need to prepare and be ready to go. We fly out tomorrow back into Coventry. Guys will meet there. We're going to train for 3 days. We'll get a couple of days off for the weekend, and then it's kind of full throttle right till June 2nd again. So we'll spend a lot of time together. We'll probably be on the ice twice a day, sort of thing, preparing and getting ready. And for us personally, we get to work. I know Ewan King, the goalie coach, is coming out as well. So he's going to be working with us the whole time as well, too.
So if Pete Russell sits you and Bouncy down and says, right, boys, I need to pick a starter for the game against Russia, how would you sell yourself? How would you convince Pete that you were the man to start against Russia, given how well you've done in the Elite Series?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really, to be honest, if it's that kind of situation, you don't really say, you have no say in it, really, to be honest. You just do your best in practice to prove that you're playing well and in a position ready to go. I'm sure he's been watching, some of the games over the last month and a bit. So I think that really, more or less, your play kind of does the talking as a goalie. You don't really go in there and try to convince him. You just, you do that on the ice, and then whatever decision he makes, you get ready for, and then get ready for the next game after that.
And of course, it's been a strange season like no other because of the coronavirus pandemic, not having the championships last year, not having a season for a large part of it. But the good thing is GB go in. There's no relegation threat this year, which is a good thing as well. So can that take the pressure off a little bit going into a tournament like that?
I mean, I guess. I mean, I think in going into this kind of tournament, you're really going in there, you kind of know going in what's not necessarily going to happen, but you're just going in there to try your best, really. And that's all you can really do. Every game is going to be a grind, and you're just going to go in there and battle and work as hard as you can and kind of go from there. Obviously, for ourselves, looking forward, you want to stay in that top division as long as possible. You're playing against, again, like the better players. It makes you a better player playing against those guys. So to be able to get that for 2 more years, essentially, is huge, I think.
Excellent, Jackson. Thank you so much for your time. We wish you the best of luck with the World Championships. Hopefully, you'll get a couple of appearances on the record as well. But thank you for your time, and well done again on the Elite Series success.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you very much for having me on.
Jackson Whistle of Nottingham Panthers, an Elite Series winner. My final guest sadly wasn't a winner, but did impress with some solid displays for his team in the competition, and even came up with one of the goals of the competition, a majestic coast-to-coast goal against the Manchester Storm. Good news for him as he's off to Latvia too, and here to look back on his 2021, which included a spell in the Spring Cup with Telford Tigers, is Coventry D-man David Clements. David Clements, thanks for joining us on the BI8 show from the Coventry Blaze. Of course, well, that 5 weeks is over. What did you make of it all?
Oh, it was a long 5 weeks, but it was great to be back on the ice again. It was a lot of hockey, but really good to be with Coventry again. Again, a lot of hockey, but it's put me in good stead, ready for GB. But met some great people, some great players, and was really happy to be playing a lot of hockey again.
Yep, a lot of hockey indeed. And there was a lot of hockey between, we'll touch on your experience with Telford in the Spring Cup as well, but the Elite Series itself, I think it was something like 14 games you played in the space of 5 weeks. How did the body hold up and all that?
Yeah, do you know what? It was a lot tougher than expected. I did go in with the mindset that it was going to be tough. A lot of practices, a lot of games. We were on the ice pretty much every day. But we had a great physio team with GB physio Nikki Sherlock and her team at the clinic that she has, and they were staying over at the hotel helping us out when we needed a lot of recovery going on. But all in all, bodies held up fine, and it was a good experience. So,
as I say, you'd played for Telford Tigers in the Spring Cup prior to the Elite Series, so you'd had 7 weeks before that of games, 2, maybe 3 a week, depending on the schedule as well. So how ready were you to go into the Elite Series?
Well, do you know what? First and foremost, obviously that opportunity from Tommy Watkins was an absolute lifesaver, because I think without it, I think the Elite Series could have been very different for me. But I'm really glad that he made the phone call to me, and it was a great 6 weeks with Telford. He runs a really good tight ship up there in Telford, and they have a great team, a great group who welcomed me and, you know, the likes of Ross and the other guys in with open arms. So really good first class organization there, and really thankful for that. But again, without that 6 weeks, I don't think that I would have been as ready as I was for the Elite Series. It put me in good stead for it. Obviously, some bad habits, maybe trying to make a few too many moves than I should, but I think those got put to bed quickly with Stewie on my case. So once those bad habits were out the way, it was, you know, the legs felt good and everything just kind of came together. So really good.
Danny Stewart, a shrinking violet like that, giving you a hard time? I can't really see it. So what are your reflections on the tournament as a whole then? Obviously, Coventry lost out in the semi-final stage, but I think a lot of positives to take from certainly from what I've seen anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the tournament as a whole was amazing. I think everybody from the Elite League who put this, you know, event together did an amazing job. It was so, you know, COVID secure. The testing every day, the hotels, the meals, everything was, you know, first class. And then again, the hockey as a whole was, you know, a really good standard, and, you know, a bit more, a few more Brits than you'd see in the regular season. But I think the standard was, you know, just as good. Some great imports that flew over and made it a very competitive tournament. You know, and like you said, unfortunately, we lost out in the semi-final to eventually the winners in Nottingham, who I think we had the better of them throughout, you know, the group stages and the round robin, if you like. But semi-final, something just clicked with that team, and I think they would deserve to go on and win the whole thing. But as a whole, I think the tournament was really well done for everyone involved.
What struck me was the performances, particularly the partnership between Tristan Keck and Mike Hammond as well. I mean, phenomenal on their day as well. What was it like to play alongside those two guys when they're on fire?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, Hammond, he's someone that I've played against, you know, for a year or two when he was in Manchester. And, you know, I know how dangerous that guy can be on the puck. He has, you know, amazing vision, amazing hands, and he can make plays out of nothing. So to be on the right side of those and him giving me some of those passes was nice for a change, and not having to scramble to defend them. But no, he's an amazing player. And then Keck, obviously coming first year pro, straight out of college, he impressed everybody, I think, at the entire tournament. So he's as quick as anybody I've seen in a long time, and he can put the puck in the back of the net too. So if you can skate like that and shoot like that, I think you're going to be dangerous. And you got a guy like Hammond passing you the puck, you're going to get a lot of points. So it was really good to play with both of those guys.
And of course, I want to ask you about one moment in particular, your coast-to-coast goal against Manchester Storm. I can't remember if it was Ed or Stu on comms that they sort of prefixed it with, "Are you kidding me?" They couldn't believe just how good it was. Talk us through that goal. It was quite something to watch.
Yeah, well, you know, growing up as a kid, it's something that I was able to do. Well, back when I was 12, 13 years old. But, you know, on our power play, we run a drop breakout. So I think, to credit to the Manchester guys that were on the ice, I think they were expecting me to get to their blue line and maybe look for a pass. And the seas kind of parted up. So it was a little bit bad defended on their part, which I'm sure, you know, Ryan Finnerty wouldn't have been too happy about. But the seas kind of parted for me, and I saw an opening, and just kind of blacked out from that point on. But was very happy for it to be the game-winning goal and see it go in the back of the net, and us win from that point. So something that I don't know how many more chances I'll get to do something like that, but I definitely enjoyed it. So
I bet you did. And that's the thing, in a situation like that, you've got the puck in your possession. It's like when you watch football as well, you see a player going on a mazy dribble. And I often wonder how much of it is instinct, or do you get time to think in a situation like that? What is it like?
it's just split second. You know, majority of it is instinct because, like I said, normally on that breakout, which I've done all tournament, you know, my job is to get it up and turn around and make a pass to one of our guys, you know, coming quick through the neutral zone. So I just saw that, you know, split second of a gap open up, which I thought, you know, I've got enough speed to try and get through there. So a little bit of instinct, and if it went the other way and they took the puck off me and shot the puck down the other end of the ice, I think it could have been a different story for that game. So 50-50, not sure again how many times I'll try and do that when I get the chance. But again, really happy that I got to score that goal, and it was special for me. So.
You mentioned about the British players being involved in the competition. We've seen more British players get ice time than we would in a regular season. So is this a pathway for more Brits, do you think, getting more ice time and roster slots going forward as we hopefully look at what's going to be a regular season ahead?
100%. I mean, I completely understand from a fan's point of view that they want to see an entertaining product on the ice with more imports do that, and they want to pay for what they watch, but at the same time, me being a Brit myself, it's never been easy to find a solid roster spot where you get the opportunity to play. And in my opinion, I thought the Elite Series was entertaining enough with the level of imports we had and the Brits we had. So, why change it? But, I'm glad I'm not in charge of those decisions. But it is what it is. I think the Brits that, the young Brits and even the guys from the lower leagues that came up and played proved that, this is a tough level for them and they need a bit more, practice and coaching to play at this level. But I think with that practice and that coaching, a bit of experience, I don't see why they couldn't. And, if we have the standard of hockey in a regular season like we did in the Elite Series, I think it'd be fun for everybody. So going forward, if more Brits can get an opportunity, I think, that would be a great path for everybody. So.
And this is where you're ideal, because you came in 6 years ago to Coventry. You went away, you played in North America for a while after starting in Coventry's junior system, come back. You've held a place down in the Blaze team for the last few years as well. So it shows that, you keep working hard, you keep doing the right things, you'll get yourself nailed down. And that's exactly what's happened with you, culminating in this GB call-up as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not been an easy 6 years either. I mean, people can look from the outside and say the guy's from Coventry. It's an easy place for him to play. But it's any Brit that's good enough can take my spot at any time. I'm the only British defenseman on our team and have been for 6 years. So my spot's not always there. But I've been very fortunate to play in Coventry in my hometown for this long and kind of get that experience under my belt and gain some confidence and knowledge throughout the years. And very happy with where I am now. Obviously, I think I had a very good Elite Series and put me in good stead to get my first call up. So very happy with where I am now.
And you also got more goals in this short spell than you have, I think, in a normal regular season. I was looking at your Elite Prospects page there, 1, maybe 2 a season compared to 3 and 14. Bit of a run,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's again something when I was younger I used to do plenty more of. But this year during COVID's been obviously tough, but just time to kind of reflect and work on myself a little bit more. And obviously the streaming series in November with Milton Keynes, and then playing some power play and more opportunities with Telford and with Tommy. It gave me all the confidence, to bring that fun back and, know that I can make those plays and stuff like that. So, and all credit to Danny and Keno at Coventry for putting in that faith in me during the Elite Series, being a leader and on the power play units, playing special teams and logging, over 25 minutes of ice time a game. It just gave me more confidence to do what I know I can do. So yeah, I'm really happy with the goals and the offensive productivity that I was able to produce and help my teammates, win some games. But hopefully that's something that I can continue to do in a regular season next year.
And as we said, you've been rewarded with a call up to the GB national team for the World Championships. How did you first find out? What was your reaction when you did find out?
Well, Stewie's already said it on a Zoom call, so I think I'm allowed to say it. But Stewie pulled over me, Ross, Luke Ferrara, and Jordan Headley before practice one morning, and he said that you guys have made it. I think he wanted to tell us because he's been with us for a bit of a journey, myself and Ross, for 5 years, and Heads and Luke for 3 years. So I think he's wanted to, tell us, which I understand. But I was over the moon. Obviously, it's been I've been pushing for that spot for a while now. And again, it's just something that I've dreamt about, especially them going into the top level last year or the year before. Sorry. It's just you want to play against the best players in the world. It's something that you dream of. So I'm really honoured and proud and thankful for Pete, Corey, and Adam Keefe for giving me the opportunity. And I'm really excited to get going in camp and see what that kind of hockey is in Latvia.
And of course, you've played for Pete before. You played under him at Milton Keynes Lightning for a spell, so you know straight away the kind of coach he is. How good is he to work for?
No, definitely. It was a short spell in MK, and to play at that level of hockey, coming from where I was, the systems he had in place, the expectations. He has very high expectations, even in the NIHL, which was great to see. He's tactically and system wise, he was as good as anybody that I had at that time. So I was quite inexperienced, didn't really get the systems kind of things, North America, well, especially in America, it was a little bit different. But obviously what he's done with GB and the spell that he's been there has been amazing. From Belfast to Budapest to Slovakia, it's you can't knock the guy from what he's been able to produce. So again, really excited to work for him again. Hopefully he can see a different side to me, and everything goes well.
I've got to ask you, and I love asking this question, especially of guys like yourself who weren't involved in the previous trip. I'm assuming you watched the last World Championships in Slovakia, that France game when Ben Davies scored the overtime winner. Where were you, and how did you celebrate?
I was at home, actually. Sorry, I was at Ross Venus's house in the summer. Us two were watching it on TV, and me and V obviously both played with Ben Davies. So to see him score that goal, we were so happy for him. But just, I had goosebumps watching that. I mean, and it was almost like a motivation to say, right, they're in the division again. Let's go. It could be us next year. You see them playing against guys like Patrick Kane and all these other amazing players. You're like, I want to be there. So it was an amazing thing what they were able to do in that French game, and again had goosebumps watching it. And it was great motivation for me to say that's where I want to be, and that's what I want to be playing in those big games and with all those people watching against the best players in the world. So I'm really excited to get to Latvia and see what it's all about.
Excellent. So there we go. You've got an exclusive. Ben Davies motivated you. Excellent. That's good to hear. I'll be pleased to hear that. David, thank you so much for joining us on the BIH show. It's great to have you on board. Great that you're going to be involved with GB. Wish you the very best of luck for that, and have a great summer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, that's your lot for this week on the BIH show. My thanks to my guests this week, Luke Fisher, Jackson Whistle and David Clements. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Latest news and information can be found on britishicehockey.co.uk, and this is also available in an audio format, so subscribe and download from your audio provider. The Elite Series may be done, but the BIH show will keep on going as we head into the summer months, so keep watching and listening as we turn our attention to the World Championships. Have a great week, whatever you get up to, and I'll be back soon with another edition of the BIH show. Take care. Bye for now.